Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the 2025 Ski Doo BackCountry XRS. This is the one with the two-stroke 850 E-Tech Turbo R, and there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about in this unit. So I'm filming here at Extreme Torque Motorsports. Normally in their winter months, we film in the showroom, but we're trying something out here. It's a cleaner background, easier for you guys to see, but there is more background noise, so forgive some of the background noise because I think this is still gonna give you a better view of all the stuff I'm trying to show you in this video. I wanna thank Extreme Torque Motorsports because they really are experts. I'm not the best expert for sure on snowmobiles, I'm still learning them, but these guys here, this whole team here, they're amazing. If you're looking for a place to shop, they're in New Brunswick. There's 3 locations within New Brunswick. I'm at the Fredericton location right now, but these guys are awesome. All right, we're gonna talk about this snowmobile. We're gonna talk about a lot of the little changes that snowmobiles have between models lines. If you look at the Ski Doo lineup, they've been making them for years. There's already a massive lineup even in the current model year. So what separates them? What makes them different? Well, that's what's pretty cool is there's a whole bunch of minor differences that make a big difference to you as the rider, and that's what's kind of intriguing me about snowmobiles overall. So let's talk about this model. Let's talk about some of the cool things on this, and we'll continue carrying on through the whole line on this channel. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, make sure you subscribe. If you have comments, something you want to know that I didn't bring up, make sure you let me know as well. And let's get going with this review. So the backcountry line here is a pretty expansive line. You end up with some pretty economical entry points, and then as you start equipping them up, you end up with something like this. This thing is designed as a 50-50 sled. So a 50-50 sled on trail, off trail, can kind of do it all, do everything. It's a really popular segment for a lot of people who want to kind of just do everything in the snow. The difference with this one is Can-Am went all out and started looking at all the details to make this thing a true sporty type ride. So the first thing you have here with any Can-Am is a nice sporty riding position. I say any Can-Am, but when I say sporty riding position, a lot of snowmobiling, you want to make sure you're using your body. And leg position here is a kind of a cool thing. So you've got your wind protection right there. I'm about a 6-foot rider here. You've got a good positioning of the plastics here, but if you want to get over and lean over there, the plastics still keep you protected from all that snow and all that wind and everything else there on the outside. The handguards as well, keeping you protected from everything. But you've got some good ability to really move around. You've even got some little toe holds here that'll help you lean. I'll show you those as we get a little bit closer here. But the overall riding position is fairly upright. You've got a tall handlebars here, and you've got a digital dash. The other thing you have is a super low windshield. It's gonna allow you to get way forward if you're going uphill or something like that. You can really use your body to maneuver things around. Now, sometimes on these sleds that are designed to use your body to move things around, they have a really narrow, really small seat, and sometimes a really firm seat. Can-Am does a great job, Ski Doo does a great job of giving you a really nice padded seat. So you're gonna be able to ride this thing all day long, whether it's on the trail, off the trail, whatever you wanna do, have some fun with it, it's still gonna be a comfortable ride. That's a real key piece to this. But there's some technology on this and some differences. So let's start at the front skis, take a look at the skis and suspension, and we'll move our way back through this unit. So when you're looking at this BackCountry XRS, you really got to talk about the overall handling, and of course the handling starts here at the front. You've got a wider stance, a 43-inch stance, which is going to give you a lot of different things. Remember, we talked about this thing being a performance sort of version of the sled, and you want to make sure that you have really good cornering. So you can do that by having a wider stance. Now what's cool about this is you actually have an adjustable stance. We're going to zoom in here just for a second. I don't know if I can get the best shot there, but you can see where the skis are mounted there. You've got a spacer on the one side and a spacer on the other side, so you can kind of see spacer here, spacer there. You can decide to put both spacers on the inside, both spacers on the outside. So you can narrow or widen the stance on your own or from the shop here as you're leaving there. But of course, that wide stance overall is going to contribute to a couple different things. First of all, it's going to give you great cornering. You know, that just sort of makes sense. If you widen a car, if you see a wide body kit on a car, that's going to help with cornering. The other thing it's going to do is give you great stability over rough trails. So you have sort of this dual benefit with a little bit wider stance that's going to make it fun to ride over corners or through corners. It's going to give you a lot of stability, but it's also going to give you that rough sled capability. So again, on trail, off trail, it's going to give you some advantages. The other cool thing you've got here is just general suspension geometry. It's hard to show this without looking at other things, but you want to have your steering rod here relatively in line. So through the swoop of as the suspension compresses, and you've got good suspension travel here, but as it compresses, it comes in, you want to keep a good steering angle. So you've got your steering rod there in line with the suspension. That's going to keep the skis pointed straight instead of kind of twisting in and out. through the line. So again, it's going to be about precision, just little minor things in the geometry that are going to keep it really precise as you're going through corners or as you're heading straight out. Now, the other thing we should talk about is suspension. You've got great quality suspension here, so let's kind of get a different angle there, take a look at that. Before we go there too far, I want to point out as well, you've got a real blunt nose on all these Ski-Doos. So it's a blunt nose, gives a lot of ground clearance, so it's going to allow you to get through the deeper snow, but it also has a very centralized center of gravity. Not a lot hanging forward, not a lot of weight hanging forward of the suspension, and again, very narrow throughout, so it's going to give you that extra focus on the extra handling that you've got. So let's take a look at the suspension here and move our way through. So any performance-oriented sled is going to have great suspension. You can just see the front suspension a little different than the rear suspension because it sits out here like that. And what you've got here is the piggyback shocks here. Again, piggyback shocks are great for a whole bunch of reasons. Basically, if you have a lot of quick compression there, a lot of quick kind of bouncing up and down, you're going to take some of that heat and put it out here. It doesn't, you know, on a cheaper shock or something else, when you have a lot of quick movement, you can kind of get a stiffer, kind of less reaction kind of movement. So with piggyback shocks, you basically eliminate that problem. That's why you always see piggyback shocks. They're not just for looks, they're not just for styling, although they do look pretty cool. They really do give you an advantage, a performance advantage. You've also got a lot of preload adjustment in here, so that's all there. And then you've got easy clickers to adjust your suspension as well. So you can tailor it on the fly. You just hop off, spin it one little bit, and you can tailor everything. And of course, it's nice and easy. Even in the snow, you're not reading numbers. You've got the larger piece up here, so you can kind of feel and see visually just standing back where you've spun it. So if you get snow covered on these things, you don't have to read a number like you would on, say, the Can-Am Riker, which is an on-road machine that they make. You can sort of see, have you done one click, one spin, that kind of thing. So you want to set the suspension left and right to the same notch. And again, even covered in snow, no problem seeing that, no problem seeing what's going on. So if we're going to talk about a performance vehicle, a performance machine, we got to talk about this XRS and the engine that this one is equipped with. So this is the 850 E-Tech Turbo R. That's the brand name for it. Now it can get confusing. It can get a little confusing in the Ski-Doo lineup because you've got a 4-stroke Ace engine, which is something that's used in, for instance, the Can-Am Rikers and that kind of thing. And then you've also got the 2-stroke engine, which is not used on road. Now, the 2-stroke engine is the one that most performance-oriented people want. It's a lightweight engine. It produces a whole bunch of power, but this one has some cool tricks up its sleeve that I didn't really understand, so I had to talk to the sales guy here to help me make sense of it. So I'm going to just going to read quickly what this says on the website. This engine is designed specifically for low altitude use. It delivers 180 horsepower consistently thanks to its unique water injection system that manages intake temperatures and maximizes peak horsepower production. Basically, it also says it has heart-pounding power, yada, 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 you know, mind-bending acceleration, which of course is just marketing words. But what it does is it provides a ton of power all the time, regardless of altitude, regardless of atmospheric pressure, regardless of basically weather kind of thing. And how does it do that? And this is something that I didn't really understand. So, 2-stroke engine, you've got a little tank back here. You put some, they call it water cooling, but just like your car is water cooled, it's not actually water. You put some extra fluid in here. What it does is it consumes a little bit of this fluid depending on how aggressively you're riding or if you're in higher altitudes. So if you go pin it really hard, it can send this water cooling in to the engine to help keep everything cool, and it consumes some of that, but it keeps everything cool, which helps it deliver that max peak horsepower, that peak power. So if you're just cruising around, you're basically not using this thing hardly at all. But if you start demanding full power, and like they said, mind-bending acceleration, you're getting that consistently at any altitude, at any atmospheric pressure, at any time, because you have a cooling system that pumps this fluid in there, keeps it cool, and automatically gives you tons of power. Now this unit has a couple other tricks up its sleeve. It doesn't have a battery in here. It does have a small battery in here just for the injection system, so I don't want to say it has no battery at all because somebody will correct me in the comments. But the general sort of, you know, car battery, snowmobile battery type thing that you would have in a unit does not exist here. So let's talk about some of that technology as well. That contributes to the overall handling and performance of this thing as well. So talking about no battery causes you to wonder about a few things. This thing has a full digital display touchscreen. We're going to show you the basics of that in a second, but not the full thing. We'll explain that later. But to run a full electronic system, you need a battery. This doesn't have one. So how does this work? Well, this E-Tech technology is exclusive to Ski-Doo here, exclusive to the BRP line. And what it does is it has what they call an ultra capacitor. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. I'll explain how it works. So the first time you start this thing in the morning, you're gonna have a little pull start here on the right-hand side. So you're gonna give it that pull start. Just the action of pulling that to start, gives that ultra capacitor a charge. So it, for lack of a better term, it functions like a mini tiny kind of battery that holds enough charge, allowing you to use the push starter here to turn this thing on the rest of the day essentially. And if it ever doesn't turn on, give that another pull. So it's a pull start that can basically be electric started. Now, why would you want to do that instead of just giving yourself a push start all the time? Very simply, battery, the whole system, they save about 20 pounds of weight by kicking the battery out of there, keeping everything else out of there. And that ultra capacitor is going to give you that electric start. So you have the convenience of essentially an electric start button right here, and a pull start down here is all you're doing is charging that ultra capacitor. If you can't start it with the pull start, you're still charging that ultra capacitor, which allows this thing to run. And then of course, once it's running, you've got full digital dash and everything else. Now we'll show you very quickly the digital dash. I'm not gonna do a full review of the dash later. We're gonna do a dash review in the future. I may choose to use one with a battery that stays on for me, but of course, because it doesn't have the battery, it won't stay on. So if I push the electric start button right now, it hasn't been running for a while, you see the headlights turn on for a second, my dash lit up for a second, and that's it. It's not doing it anymore. So I could start this thing up and show you the dash, and maybe that's what I'll have to do to just show you a little bit of the dash. Let's do that right now. All right, so taking a look wide angle here at the driver's area or the rider's area, what I did is I pulled the pull start just a little bit. I didn't pull enough to start the engine, but what it did do is give me enough to run the dash. Now it's been running for a little while here. Lots of things we could show you in the dash. Like I said, I'm gonna do that as a video later. You've got your turbo boost information there. You've got your tack there. Now remember, this is a touchscreen dash, I believe. Yeah, there we go, touchscreen dash. I don't want to shut it down right now. You can have all kinds of information in here, and that information is controlled over here. So the same dash you're getting on your Can-Am Spyders, if you see my Can-Am Spyder videos in the past, you're basically getting here. Now obviously some similar but also different software here, which is going to allow you to have a whole bunch of different things. Like I said, can't keep this thing powered forever because all I did without even starting it was pulling the pull start here, just a little tiny bit to get enough power to power up the dash, and actually the headlight is powered up as well to give you some of that information. So like I said, different dash video there, but that's how this dash system works without a battery, without that whole system, saving about 20 pounds, giving you better handling, better performance. So you've got top power, less weight, and of course less weight also contributes to handling. While we're taking a look here, just take a look at a couple little things up here. You've got, oops, a little extra spot to store your stuff out there on the front there. And as we come back here, you've got the adjustable handlebars. You can tweak them any way you want, and you have a little marker to see if you want to angle them towards you, because of course they're angled up or down, whatever way you want. So you have that information. You can tweak it as you go if you want to ride and you want to remember where it was. Over here on the controls, of course, heated grips, standard stuff. You can connect this thing to an app as well, the BRP app or Ski Doo app. I can't remember exactly which one it is. BRP Go is usually what they have for these Spyders. You can connect this all to an app and have extra features. You can connect it to voice communications there. And of course, there's lots of things we can slide through over here. We can go through some volume and other kinds of things. And then of course your headlight switch, and there's that start switch down there. So you've got that electronic start switch, which again, will work once I've sort of charged that capacitor. Kill switch over here, throttle over there as well, and just lots of cool stuff. Only dummy switch down on this one is down here, so you could add some accessories there if you wanted to. Other than that, you're putting some stuff on your handlebars. But very cool system. We're going to talk about the electronics later. I want to talk a tiny bit about the handling as we move to the back here, and then we'll wrap this video up. So I mentioned off the top of the video that there's a whole bunch of little things in this unit that make it unique, make it a little bit different. Now we talked already about losing the battery, but keeping that digital dash. We talked about, basically the water injected system. They call it water injected, but it's not actually water injected system that cools it, keeps you having that full power, amazing acceleration all the way. The other thing that you can't really see is this little piece right here. This is something you don't see on every snowmobile, but of course, if I had my proper snowmobile boots on, as I'm leaning off to the side, that gives me a hold for my feet, so I can use my hands to steer and my legs and feet and body to keep my body positioned where I need to for weight transfer, for everything you would need to have there. And then of course, the running boards here are actually different. It's not like they recycle or reuse the same pattern on every sled. These ones are gonna allow more snow to pass through and get off and that kind of thing. So there's different designs to all the running boards here, depending on the model, which gives you some extra flexibility and how you're gonna use this sled. Now, we really haven't kind of getting on in this video, we haven't talked about the track and the rear suspension. We're gonna save some of that for a future video because Can-Am and BRP, I keep saying Can-Am, I'm so used to doing their on-road stuff, but BRP has some unique things with their track. We're gonna save that for a future video as well. Of course, you got that piggyback suspension. The big piece, the big important part of the track, and we're wide angle here for a second, is to keep that track on the ground and also push down those front skis so you've got good steering, good handling. And this has a unique system that does that. So the key piece here is the way this works, it's gonna keep that traction, but it's also gonna keep the weight transfer appropriate, so you have the skis on the ground with that great suspension that also is going to keep you on the ground, and that's part of what gives you that immediate and really fantastic handling. Now, you need to have something that's practical as well. Let's quickly take a look at the back here and show the practicality on this sled. So I've got my iPad cheat sheet right up here. There's your seat there. There's your water injected system, what they call that there. And again, not water, you put a special fluid in there. And then you have back here, of course, a whole lot of utility. Now, one thing that's really cool with all the Can-Am, all the BRP, all the Lynx stuff is all those brands, whether it's a side-by-side, whether it's a snowmobile, whether it's a Ski Doo, anything you need, they have the Link system, L-I-N-Q. This pattern, that exact size and that pattern right there that you see is exactly the same on all of their stuff. And what that means is you can buy accessories that are going to be good for you in the winter on this, in the rest of the season on your ATV or your side-by-side, or even on the water on your Ski Doo. So if you have some of these accessories, they can move from sled to sled. If you buy a new one, they can move from sled to ATV, whatever you want. But also BRP in general, Can-Am type accessories, they're almost more of an accessories company than a vehicle company. They have a ton of things. You can mount literally anything you want from this, from more fuel to luggage to coolers to whatever you would want to put on here. They have so many things, and they securely and easily clip on there. So really nice system. It's probably my favorite system of a luggage attachment or feature attachment out of all of the on and off-road products that I see on a daily basis. So let's wrap up by talking about who this unit is for. Now, of course, the BackCountry is available in not just the XRS. There are lower trim levels, different trim levels, and they have different features and options. And we'll try to cover a bunch of those on this channel throughout the winter here. But the XRS model is a little unique. It is a little special. Basically, this thing is going to give you that extra wide stance. It's going to be great handling, great rough trail performance or rough off-trail performance. It's a true 50-50 that gives you great performance in every situation. So it's kind of a do-everything sled, but the key to this particular one is this engine, this system here, combined with the great chassis that gives great handling. It's all about performance, and this thing is gonna give you that high-tech performance, giving you peak horsepower no matter what the conditions are, and that peak horsepower is a legit number. It gives you all that pulling power of a two-stroke. So you've got something that's really unique with that liquid-cooled system, but you also don't sacrifice things like a true digital dash with extra things. So it's gonna give you a lot of technology which basically blends away and makes this thing easy to ride and easy to be a better rider. So from the body positioning, from the comfort, from the luggage ability, to the full handling and performance package, you're really getting a lot in this sled to make you happy. And I think the key with all this stuff is it should sort of inspire you to have fun. I mean, you're not going out just because you want the snowmobile, you're going out to be outdoors and that kind of thing. And this is the kind of thing where the machine almost disappears. It makes you a better rider than you are, it gives you more performance than you've probably ever had. The technology, some people like it, some people don't, but I think it's gonna give you some extra options out there, extra features. We'll talk about some of the things that Dash gives you in a future video. This thing is a super impressive sled, really versatile, it's gonna work for a lot of people, and it's gonna give you a ton of performance, and that's what it's about, having some fun outside. So there you go, there's my review of the BackCountry XRS. If you have questions or anything that you wanna know, I'm still learning this stuff. Again, I'm filming here at Extreme Torque Motorsports. They are absolute experts. They're really helping me flesh stuff out. So I'm gonna try to give you more and more and more as we go on. If there's a sled that you wanna see in the BRP lineup, make sure you let me know. We'll get it out here and we'll film it again. Thanks for dealing with me in this new environment. It was a little noisy at first as we had some heat warming the place up. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. Again, if you made it this far, hit the subscribe button. We'll talk to you in the next one.